Hi and welcome to the Guardian archetype. Today we're going to dive into this archetype and also speak about the programming partner 42, the nomad, and the harmonic gate, which is the 54, the achiever. So those three archetypes are playing together this week. And I'll start as usual with a presentation for the first 10 minutes. And then we have a little bit of the transits that we can look at, and then we'll have a conversation together. This is a depiction of archetype 32. It's from Alvaro Alejandro Santamaria. He has music on Spotify and he also does this kind of medicine art. So you can go to door 32 and unlock your design and you will have the links to his work. He's a friend of mine, very deep friend from the medicine time, the Red Road. The Garden archetype is in transit from October 14th to 19th. This is the gate of continuity. The hexagram in the I Ching is called the Ration. In the Gene Keys, this is the frequency band that goes from the shadow of failure to the city of veneration, and the human pathway is preservation. In the I Ching, we are going to have the wind trigram on the bottom, and this is the case for all the archetypes that are in this part of the wheel. They're going to have the wind trigram on the bottom. So the central, the perceiver, the librarian, the intuitive, the guardian, the maestro, the daredevil, and the grid worker. In this specific case, we are going to have thunder on top of wind. And when we have thunder over thunder, that's the energy of Gene Key 51. When we have wind over wind, that's the energy of Gene Key 57. So we could say that the energy of Gene Key 32 is a combination of Gene Key 51 and Gene Key 57, which are, as you might remember, they are actually programming partners in the wheel. And this means that the shadow of failure is agitated unease. The gift of preservation is initiative with intuition, and the city of veneration is awakened clarity. When we're looking at this archetype from an astrological perspective, we are in the zodiac sign of Libra. This is the partner, the peace bringer, and the diplomat. It's service to others through the pursuit of partnership and peace. It is cardinal air. So the first time that we meet air in the wheel, we are in the third sign of Gemini. And then here we have cardinal air in Libra. And then we have, cardinal, yeah. And then we have fixed air in Aquarius. So mutable, cardinal, and fixed. In Aquarius, in Libra, and in Gemini. Those are the air signs, and that's masculine energy or positive energy. Libra is the balanced air we breathe in and out, sharing with others through communication. In the quarters, we are in the quarter of duality, where the purpose is fulfilled through relationships. And that's also what we see in those zodiac signs with Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. They all have to do with the relationship to the other. They are social, transpersonal. And here we're looking at the body graph. We are in the splenic center. And if you think about all the transits in this part of the year are going to be splenic gates. That's where we are. With the wind trigram on the bottom, bringing in that intuition and that instinct. Like I said before, this is the gate of continuity. The splenic center is our oldest awareness center. This is where we are tuning into our immune system. And the frequency band from Integral Human Design, here we have the shadow of alarm, the gift of intuition, and the city of presence. So here you see all these gates that are in Libra and then going over to Scorpio in the 50 and the 28. The harmonic gate that creates a theme or a process is the 32, or is the 40, the 54. This is the channel of transformation, a design of being driven. There's a projected channel, goes between not anything that has to do with the sacral center. The theme here, you have the capacity and the drive to attain any goal. However, you need the correct allies to support you. In the best scenario, you need to be recognized by these allies for your drive rather than you trying to find them. For the Guardian, we have keywords as instinctive discernment, ancestral reverence, and sustainability and sustainability. For the Achiever, we have drive, instinct, and ambition. When we look at the whole channel, it also has a frequency band from Integral Human Design, where we look at failure and greed, and in this process, that's what becomes disrespect. We look at preservation, aspiration, that what becomes respect. And then we look at ascension and veneration, and that is reverence. So if you have the whole channel or you're creating that with somebody, this is the frequency band for the process that lives here in the 3254, the channel of transformation. The programming partner of the 32 is the 42. They are opposite in the wheel, so Libra and Aries, also opposite in terms of the hexagrams. Wherever the 32 has an open line, we're going to have a closed line in the 42. Failure and expectation go hand in hand. Preservation and detachment go hand in hand. Veneration and celebration go hand in hand. And then we're in tribal circuitry. So here you see all the tribal circuitry. And there are two circuits. So today we're looking at the ego circuit that doesn't have the sacral smile here in the middle. So we're looking at this circuit where we are all about the material plane, surviving as a community, having the rules, the principles, the energy, the right message and transmission, the community, so that we can survive on the material plane. The main keynote for the tribal circuitry is support. So let's take a little quick look at the color coding that comes from Baxis 3D. So here we're looking at a symbol for gene key or gate or hexagram 32, and the verb is to regulate. How does that feel? If you think about the gift of preservation, regulate, to not end the resources too fast, to not throw everything in the rubbish bin, but also to not try to do everything, because then probably we're going to fail, right? So you can feel into how this verb regulate is connected to the gift of preservation. When we look at the color coding, that has to do with the trigrams. So before we're looking at the trigrams, it's thunder and wind. So in this system, thunder is connected to the red color and connected to Aries. And wind is connected to the green color and Virgo. So in this sense, we would say that this hexagram is created of an energy of Aries, the very first sign, and Virgo, the sixth sign. So we would have those two energies together, which is an initiating energy in Aries, and then it's an organizing energy in Virgo. And that's also why we can see that this verb will work. And then when we look at the inner trigrams of the hexagram, the hidden ones, where we don't look at the top and the bottom, we look at here, and we look at here, we're going to see that we have heaven and we have lake inside of this hexagram. So then it gives us a recommendation and a meaning. So we are regulating so that we learn to develop consistency and consistency in pace, consistency in how do you say that? It can be form and in pace. And then when we're looking at what is the recommendation during this transit, it's that you're bringing yours, you are contributing with what's yours, because that is how we can see what's worth preserving. That's how we can see how we can regulate bringing what we have. So that's this way of looking at it that's a little bit different, but just gives us a little bit of a different perspective. And then we have the transits right now. So this is right now. We have an Aries moon that it just got into Aries. So you see the moon here on the cusp. It was in Pisces. You might have felt quite out there in the last few days, and now it's coming into Aries, a new cycle, and it's going to conjunct with the North Node in, I guess it's tomorrow, and then we have the opposition with the Sun on the 17th. So a lot of things are going to happen over the next 2.5 days with the moon and the conjunction with Chiron and this is a very intense week. And I would say it's a week where, and also with the aspect with Mars, for example, to all this in square. You can see here the square with Chiron and the Sun and Mars already. And then the moon is coming here and it's helping this to become even more accentuated. So it's definitely a time to look at our wounding, feeling into our immaturities and seeing what is there to learn, what is there to perfect with that, what is there to preserve, and a little bit for you depending on where this will happen, where the opposition of the sun and the moon will happen, those houses that's in for you, that's the areas of your life where this can feel the most. And I feel like it's also accentuating the collective work that we're doing over those like 18 months where we have the North Node and the South Node in that axis with Aries and Libra. For me and for you, for me and for you, what we and me, and how to create that balance. And there is definitely a little bit of more focus in a collective sense with the North Node and Aries on the me part. And sifting through the we part and see what's worth preserving, what's not worth preserving. And that's also something that we can see in the Jupiter having gone retrograde a few days ago. Even in the way that we communicate and think, it's about going over things. And this is going to be all the way from now in October to February next year to go over the things that you have thought and communicated over the past few months. And in a human design sense, the fact that it went stationary and started retrograde in the 45, it's also about how are you creating your kingdom, your queendom. And maybe there is something that you thought that your queendom or your kingdom was going to be like, and then suddenly now over the winter, if you're in the northern hemisphere, over the summer, if you're in southern hemisphere, you're gonna have to see that actually that's not how my queendom or kingdom is gonna look. And there can be some letting go and some grief and some immaturity and some reactions for self and other around that. So quite a lot of water energy and emotion, the moon over the next 2 days, and those closer planets in the Venus and the Mercury in Scorpio in in the depths.